September 5, 1926. I am a drowned man, one among many. Have patience. William Thomas Stead. September 9, 1926. I was away in a new land with Stevenson. It would not be in this world at all. The land must have been on the other side because it was such beautiful hills, all shadowed, all colored, bluish tinted. I saw him on the hills and he was trying to talk to someone. I first seemed on earth, and yet I don't know. It seemed to be partly both places. He was a living man. First transcript. He does not look, will not look, nor yet be lured the truth to tell. Eternal land beyond death, dawn beyond a doubt, tread on hills and plains. Verification. He does not look, will not look, and yet he loved the truth to tell. This is based on the last lines of the poem To Any Reader from A Child's Garden of Verse. The complete quote. He does not hear, he will not look, nor yet he lived out of this book. For long ago, the truth to say, he has grown up and gone away, and it is but a child of air that lingers in the garden there. Stevenson completes his message by paraphrasing lines from the poem he wrote in life. To many, the eternal dawn beyond a doubt shall break on hill and plain. A subtle conception and assurance of life after death, using an early poem in its new setting to convey a totally new meaning. Stead gives some instructions. Have patience, you will be rewarded. We have no patience for slow work. Be on time. September 12, 1926. Stevenson and Livingston in one trance, and there was no confusion. I heard some beautiful music. There was just Stevenson alone in a beautiful place. It was psalm singing, just at a distance. Stevenson was standing and he talked with me. He lifted up one hand and it looked like a cape, a bluish cloud cape. Then I got him with large flocks of sheep. It seemed not of this world. There was something beautiful about it. The Stevenson script, Leave not my soul, thy debts unhonored. And seventh sphere, he holds his place for those he nurtures. The verification, Leave not my soul the unforgotten field, nor leave thy debts dishonored, nor thy place desert, without a due service rendered. This is from the poem Leave Not My Soul, found in Underwood's, page 122. Note that Stevenson changes the word dishonored to unhonored, which gives a totally different meaning. He wrote this poem in April 1880 in San Francisco following a severe illness of tubercular hemorrhage, when it seemed likely that he had not long to live. This is in R.L. Stevenson Letters, Volume 3, page 110. He was then still estranged from his parents, and to them was acting dishonorably in marrying Mrs. Osborne, a divorced woman. Also, in a sense, he still owed his father a great deal, for up to that point he had not been able to support himself by writing. Now all that is past. He takes a more tranquil view of life's mistakes and efforts. It is enough to leave the world with all debts honored, work done, and the score settled. Thus, by using one new word, Louis subtly preaches to us from beyond death. As in several other earlier Stevenson visions at this date, there appears to be an attempt to represent the nature of the next life by imagery. It is merely representative. It cannot be interpreted literally, but rather as a finer reality, ethereal, and therefore difficult to define. He hints at objectivity in his new state. In reference to sheep in the Stevenson vision, Dr. Hamilton asked, "Where are you, Robert Louis, in your present state?" Seventh sphere, he holds his place for those he nurtures. The image of the sheep suggests the shepherd, one who cares for those around him. Later, Stevenson referred to himself as a shepherd of the hills. In life, Stevenson often wrote in his letters of himself in the third person. Stead strikes the table end and shouts, "Go away." This is possibly directed to some personality on his side considered undesirable. Stead writes, "What right have you here? You can't sing praises to your Maker." Then to the sitters, "Too late for your spirit friends. They are in your classroom some minutes. We have no patience for slow work. Be on time." Note that his outlook is totally different from that of the other two. Stead is in the present and interested mainly in practical experiments that may be carried out in the seance room, which he quite consistently refers to as a classroom. September 16, 1926. First attempt to get scotograph, which is an image on an unexposed photographic plate. Results negative. This is not placed in a camera to be exposed. Stead's script writes to an invisible and undesirable entity. "You are an offense, one that knows nothing. You upset all and hurt my friend on the earth side." September 19, 1926. Vision of the other land. I had two pictures of Stevenson. I can't tell the first. I was there in the other land. It was a kind of temple. All going in and out, all dressed alike. They went in this place. I saw it open. There was bright light, all blue, all shaded. I saw no shadows. I saw Stevenson going in. He had his head bent forward. I saw Stead. September 21, 1926. An impromptu special sitting held at 12 a.m. for Sir Henry Govan of England. Sir Henry was a noted tuberculosis specialist, then attending the meeting of the Canadian Medical Association in Winnipeg in September 1926. Dr. Hamilton was then on the executive committee of the CMA. I saw Stead too. I could see a temple in the distance. It was white and bluish like the inside of a shell, but more frosted. September 26, 1926. Elizabeth describes Stead. I was getting a picture taken. I saw a beautiful big camera right here. Stead was doing it. It had 3 legs and he was looking at me. September 30, 1926. Stead script. You will have wonderful results. Have patience. Thanks. Trance lasts for 35 minutes, the longest on record. Stevenson, Livingston, and Stead try for plate exposure. Negative results. October 3rd, 1926. Stead script. You must not be disturbed while your spirit friends stand around the circle and your medium. There was no vision. Stead, have you any more to say? The Stead script. Your minds are all taken off your medium. You must have a quiet room for your class. Get not discouraged. Have patience and you will be rewarded. Stead gave more instructions re-preparation for the coming of objective phenomena. The notes do not specify what these instructions are. October 7, 1926. I had another picture with Stevenson. It was not in this land. It was on the other side. There were 2 or 3 men with him, and they were all beautifully dressed. They had beautiful cloaks. I met with more of them, and they were all talking as if they knew one another. The place was a big opening into a cloud. The inside of the opening is blue with a pinkish tinge. You see the forms of them, but that is all. The mantles are bright, as you're looking at the rays when looking at the sun. They seem to be at home with one another. All is bright, but there is no sun. I saw Stead. He was in a library. The Stead script. Get not discouraged. Have patience and you will be rewarded. Leave the plate in the picture box, the camera, until you are leaving the classroom. At this time, Stead was insisting by raps and written messages that Dr. Hamilton experiment with photographic plates placed in the camera. No light exposure was to be made with these plates. This meant that the shutter was never opened. Stead seemed to think that Elizabeth's great telekinetic power would make it possible to show markings and images on the plate. Over 20 experiments of this kind were carried out with completely negative results. Lillian wrote, recalling Elizabeth's matter-of-fact descriptions which represent verifiable facts, I now believe that we are justified in accepting this imagery as a foreshadow of the objective and the subjective reality of the next state. For 3 years, Stevenson has worked unceasingly and with splendid scientific acumen to demonstrate that memory survives death, and with it all other facets of total personality. October 10, 1926. Elizabeth was excited for a moment and said, "Look out, Louis." Then she said, "Go away." Hamilton said she was muttering for Louis to come and for Livingston to go away. There had been, said Dr. Hamilton, a good deal of protest against Livingston's coming when he did. I got next. I seemed to be away so much. Stead came a couple of times tonight. There is something you don't do right. The Stead script. Your bodies are too heavy in front of the picture box. Stand more to other side. Stead. October 14, 1926. Stevenson, Livingston, and Stead in one trance. I saw Stead and his camera and the other men with him. I'm sure you are getting lots of help on the other side. Stead has a kind of blue gown. I can't see what Stead's picture box is hanging by. It just seems to be in the air. October 19, 1926. No visions during first trance due to disturbance caused by impact from undesirable entities. I got Stevenson, but the copper-faced man made it so hard. I was with Livingston in a church. I saw priests all dressed up. It must have been a Catholic place. I don't mind Stevenson at all, but that man, Copperface, put him out. Stead gave instructions for getting rid of undesirable external influences. His comments were not recorded. October 24, 1926. Stevenson and Stead vision. I saw a whole bunch, Stevenson and Stead and a lady, said to be Miss Havergal, the hymn writer. The lady was singing. Stevenson was a student at school, but his teacher was going for him. I don't think that he had been studying good. And then he seemed to be in a church and was up to mischief, his feet up on the seat. He was a little boy, and he had on a kilt and a little coat. David Livingstone script. The natives became intoxicated. When you speak to them of their intemperance, they reply, "My mother is." Apparently any excuse will do. Missionary Travels, page 355. November 3rd, 1926. I saw Conan Doyle and Sir Oliver Lodge in a picture, just their heads. I saw them in Stead's room where he was finishing pictures. I saw kind of spirit pictures all around him. I saw his camera. He had a light at his camera. I was standing behind his left arm. Stead has been around here an awful lot tonight. I saw an outline of a face, an awful lot of white hair and a white beard. Stead talked to me. Editor's note. Since Arthur Conan Doyle died on July 7, 1930, and Sir Oliver Lodge died on August 22, 1940, both these men were alive on this date. This appearance in seances of individuals still alive on the earth plane is not unprecedented. Stead, however, had died in 1912. Stead's was an earth picture. My, he is a fine-looking man. Livingston always has a frown on his face. Stevenson takes everything in an easy way. Stead seems not discontented. November 7, 1926. Stevenson on island of Samoa before his home is built. Script. 400 acres cleared. David Livingstone's script refers to discovery of Zambezi, journeying to Zambezi, poor. Simple vision of Livingstone traveling with natives, Stead seen in the vision, working with a camera. Stead gave more instructions, these not recorded. November 11, 1926, I saw Stead writing in a library. David Livingstone eating the alligator. What is food for you is food for me. Verification. Sabitu only acted on the principle that whatever was food for men is food for me. Stead script. Why don't you have plenty of paper in beside you? You spoil conditions of your own control. This is a reference to Dr. Hamilton having to leave the seance room to get more foolscap for Stevenson, who wrote in a very large, nervous hand and often used more paper than expected. This was the case on this November 11th. November 14, 1926, Stead script. The table must stay in the class square, and don't disturb their sitters. Get a speaking tube in your classroom. You upset the medium and disturb your spirit friends. Be mindful and very quiet. Have no disturbance for an hour at least in your class. Dr. Hamilton had been called from the seance to see a patient. The vision. Stead says you are not to take a table out of its place. You are too noisy. You are all to keep quiet, he says, when you are putting your hands on the picture box. This is in reference to the experiments with the camera. I saw his class and they stood so quiet as if in prayer for a second. I recognized no men with Stead to know them. November 25th, 1926. Stevenson, script unreadable. There is interference from undesirables. David Livingstone script, unreadable, interference from undesirables. Stead's script is a scolding. William Thomas Stead, I have told you already what to do. What is the use when you change so often? The vision. Elizabeth sees Stead angry, standing and lecturing. Script. I have told you already to keep plenty of damp towels in your room. Many are here for no good. He was referring to entities on the spirit side of life. Apparently Stead believed that a higher relative humidity was conducive to better results in keeping undesirables away. Dr. Hamilton had quite consistently and calmly refused to take Stead's instructions for rigid adherence to the rule of having the same sitters and few visitors. Dr. Hamilton did not believe that materializations, called pictures by Stead, were in the offing. November 28, 1926, Stead writes, Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. I am her friend. I will guide her through her class. You have a great many friends on this side. If she had more assistants, a part-time medium, it would do the circle much good. December 2nd, 1926, Stevenson and Livingstone scripts and visions both poor. Elizabeth very tired. Stead fails to manifest. December 5th, 1926, I had Stead. He went and got somebody to stand near his camera. Then I got Livingstone with Stead. I had a dandy picture in Africa the night. I think it must have been a reunion and a celebration with the Indians, Africans, meeting mothers and sisters, and dancing too. Elizabeth feels her hair moving and a light above her head. Stead script. If your friends, the casual sitters, all attend your circle regularly, take them in. But if it's only out of curiosity, don't have them. This is no good. It must be taken seriously if you are going to have results. Pick out the circle. Strangers hurt the circle. Give us an assistance. December 19, 1926. I did not see Stead. Your friend W.B. Cooper will have good power. He will have a picture when the other medium comes. You must guard your medium and have all your sitters put their minds on the medium and all be in harmony. This will help her. Elizabeth in trance vision sees Stead very annoyed with people standing about on his side. Stead can give them a word or two and get rid of them at once. I saw him in a place that was all blue, pretty, blue brightness, bright, not as the sun shining. He was with me. We talked as we went along. December 30, 1926. Dr. Hamilton's brother Robert died in 1926. Stead script while Elizabeth is still in trance. Your medium has brilliant men. They will stand by her and will make no difference who you take into your class. We will take care of her. Stead vision. I saw Stead. He told me quite a lot. We were on the other side. He was in clouds. Beautiful. Stead isn't here yet. I feel him. He has something to tell us. Stead entered Elizabeth's trance for the first time on July 22, 1926. At that time, Stevenson had been communicating for 3 years and Livingston for 1 year. These two had devoted almost all of their trance outputs to recalling incidents relative to their past lives, and with Stevenson to literary memories. These outputs were offered along with trance visions containing imaginative pictures which indicated undoubted survival of creative faculties and thus of surviving life. Stead did not follow this pattern. He had one single interest, the production of spirit photographs, that is, visible objective creations which could be photographed and so add to the evidence for survival already accumulating by the activities of Stevenson and Livingston. Stead says, your medium is a rare one. Elizabeth sees Stead again in the beautiful cloudland of blue. In late December of 1926, Dr. and Mina Crandon visited Winnipeg, giving 3 seances there. Mina was the Boston medium known as Marjorie. Her mediumship had been developing over the past few years. It was on the occasion of this visit that Dr. Hamilton again met Marjorie's control, Walter. Walter Stewart Stinson was born in Canada about 1885. Like many young men of his time, he traveled from the eastern part of Canada to the western prairies, and for a time worked as a farmhand thresher at harvest time on a farm near Minnedosa in Manitoba. Then he got a job as a helper or stoker on a steam locomotive. When he was about 27, he was injured in a collision, scalded with live steam, and lived only a few hours. His death date is August 8, 1912. Walter was 5 years older than his sister Mina, but there was a close bond of affection linking them, which was to manifest in this unusual way some 11 years after his death. Mina and her mother had moved to Boston, where Mina found a position as a secretary in a large church. She was most attractive, witty, and charming, and she met and married Dr. Leroy G. Crandon, then an outstanding surgeon on the staff of the Harvard Medical School. At Harvard, Dr. Hamilton had met and become friends with Dr. Crandon. Walter became Mina's control or guide when her mediumship developed in the early 1920s. Stead had already begun to predict the coming of materializations, the discovery of a second medium, and the photographing of these materializations by the camera in light. It was thought likely by the group at this time that Stevenson and Livingston were simply holding the door for someone else to make an appearance. Their influence had gradually merged with that of Stead, and now they soon would join with a new personality, Walter, and produce visible materialization phenomena, the teleplasms, which were to reveal likenesses of persons known to have died many years before. January 12, 1927. Stevenson sounds very angry when trying to write, tears off paper, no script. Vision. Oh, I was in a beautiful place with Stead the night. It was in a cloud, so bright and shining. It was a street I was in, and I seemed to pass through cloud after cloud. I got Stead there, and his robe was blue, blue-white. He is a man just like yourself. Stead told me quite a lot as he walked with me. Stead wrote, your medium has many spirit friends. She must learn to leave or loosen her family circle. Your medium is not a picture medium. If you got another to assist her, she would be good. Keep on, have patience. January 6, 1927, the Stead script. Your medium is upset tonight. Never sit when your medium is annoyed. I will write again when your medium is herself. January 10, 1927, special sitting for Stead to get rid of undesirables. Early morning of January 11, Stead appears to Elizabeth in her home and asks for a special sitting. Elizabeth reports to Lillian Hamilton that she saw Stead laying down the law to a great crowd of people, that he has got to be obeyed. Stead writes, a private sitting with a few of my class. You have a wonderful class, but get them all to keep their minds on the medium. You can jest a little. It is good for me as well as the rest of you. Your medium is much better tonight. I have visited all of your chambers. You have a fine boy there, referring to the Hamilton's son, Glenn. No Stevenson or Livingston this day. There is a vision of Stead. I see him in the blue robes. He was laying down the law. He has got to be obeyed. Seance procedures must be followed. January 11, 1927. I saw Stead on that ship, but I did not go down. His place was all crimson. He was writing. Stead wrote, you'll have a marvelous medium. September 16, 1927. Stead with more instructions regarding procedures, not recorded. I saw Stead in the lovely home in the old country. He was talking to others. January 20, 1927. Stevenson's script and vision is poor, fearful of undesirables. Mrs. Mary Marshall is a guest, goes into trance, speaks to Mr. W.B. Cooper in Parsi language, which Mr. Cooper spoke as a boy of 12 in India. Mrs. Marshall had absolutely no knowledge that such a dialect even existed, and had never met Mr. Cooper before. Stead asks that water be brought in the room to drive out undesirables. Dr. Hamilton, why do you come to us? Stead, giving you a chance to enlighten you. I wish I had the chance once again. January 23, 1927. At Stead's request, the sitting group had just sung the hymn, Nearer, My God, to Thee. Stead's script. Thanks, friends, for your singing. You can't get the heart and depth that was sounding when we heard it last on earth. May you never have the same experience. It was terrible. Good night, and God bless you all. Stead vision. I got Stead in a beautiful big steamer and the boat going down. You can't sing Nearer, My God, to Thee like they do. You should see them up with their hands, women crying and men crying. Some went to jump over. I was stationed in the center of that boat, standing. There was an awful noise and burning, and they were crying and screaming and running here and there, and they did not know what to do. Some were in their night clothes. Stead was beside the band. I felt the boat go, and I lost all. The Titanic's band and a large group of passengers, of which Stead was one, stood on the deck singing and playing this hymn as the boat slowly rolled over, and many were drowned. January 28, 1927. I got Stead in a room. He looked so nice in his spirit robes. Stead script. Good evening, friends. Where is your boy tonight? Referring to Glenn Hamilton. He is not in his chamber. I have been studying that boy. Let him push on the piano or the fiddle. A strong boy will hold his own. Good night. Dr. Hamilton asked Stead, "What is the matter with Stevenson? We cannot read much of his writing." Stead wrote, "He is not strong, never got over it. He will do better presently." January 28, 1927. Letter to J. Malcolm Bird. Report on Dr. and Mrs. Crandon's visit in Winnipeg. The main Winnipeg daily paper did a good job of covering the psychical research that Dr. Hamilton has been doing. The Crandons' visit from December 21, 1926 to December 24, 1926 with the Hamiltons. Every function held for the Crandons was filled to capacity and some failed to get entrance. There was a lecture by Dr. Crandon which had space for 500 and which crowded in 600, mainly professionals. One pastor of a large church remarked that it was the finest crowd he had ever seen. The lecture was on the topic of the Marjorie phenomena. During her stay in Winnipeg, Mrs. Crandon gave 3 sittings. All the phenomena were observed by at least 40 people from Winnipeg. January 30, 1927. The medium had a vision of Stead giving the circle directions. Stead script: "Do not let strange hands touch your medium's hands. You have good sitters with power." February 2nd, 1927. The vision: Stead seen in a cloud in a blue light. Stead gave some criticisms, these not recorded. February 6, 1927, the Stead vision: "You mind one time I was on the boat and going down? Well, I was on the boat that night and went down with them. I saw a good many, but I was with Stead." From Stead there was a request and instructions, these not recorded. February 13, 1927, Stead states faith in God's guidance, a personal thing. Stead script: "Whatever my God ordains is right. Truly he will abide. I will be still whatever he doeth. I will follow where he goeth." February 21, 1927, vision: "I saw Stead in the other world, in robes." Dr. Hamilton: "What does the world need most today?" Script: "Peace and harmony. Put a bunch of those rogues in prison." W.T. Stead. Elizabeth repeats, "What he says is going to be done." A vision of Stead laboring to exclude an undesirable. He looks like a man that what he says is the law and going to be done. February 22nd, 1927. Stead script: "You are doing good work for your fellow man. Have more gentlemen. That makes it too hard on your medium. God bless her." Vision: "I saw Stead in the other world, in robes." February 26, 1927. At a sitting, a charming but worldly woman, Lady Tupper, had been a guest. Stead took exception to her presence. Stead script: "You are too ready in allowing strangers into your class. It gets them nowhere. It is not required. One of the high-class ladies, so-called, spoiling all good. Here the poor often get the best places." Talks of the status of individuals on the other side. Our standards are not theirs. Often the poor have the higher places. February 27, 1927. Script: "Good evening, friends. Your medium must have calm while absent from the world. Her friends here have not freedom around her." February 31st, 1927, or March 3rd, 1927. Dr. Hamilton: "What about Julia?" Stead script: "I have met her. I got into communication with my friend Julia. She is on a different plane." Stead was a fine automatic writer in life. His dead friend Julia Ames wrote through his hand describing her post-mortem experiences. Published in 1818, the book Letters from Julia went into many editions. March 6, 1927. Dr. Hamilton, how does Elizabeth see these visions? Stead script. She sees with her eyes. It is wonderful. She can give you a very good description of it all. March 12, 1927. Stead, worried that there are too many visitors in the seance room. March 25, 1927. Stead script. Your medium is giving you more than have all others. Her work is wonderful. If you want good results, keep regular sitters and stop putting strangers in. Plan to help. April 10, 1927. I saw Stead right here. I don't think he said much. Stead script. Your friend Walter greeted her as she came in tonight. Ask her. Inform that Walter is to come. April 12, 1927. Dr. Hamilton asks of Stead, do you think there is any possibility of this medium producing teleplasms? Her telekinetic powers are very great, and one would think minor materializations might be forthcoming. Stead script. You will get a picture yet. But you have one or two sitters who don't give much power. They absorb quite a bit. Have patience. Get another medium. Keep on. You will be rewarded. An old friend of mine will appear. I myself am tired. April 14, 1927. Stead wrote words of encouragement to go on. Some automatic writing. Marjorie, circle allow. More automatic writing. Him to come. As he would like. WTS. April 21st, 1927. Stevenson not clear, confused. Script is poor, both visions confused. Elizabeth was very tired. Dr. Hamilton, do you, Stevenson, find the medium hard to use when she is physically tired? Stevenson, like myself when in the world, your medium is no idler. She likes to be on the go. Dr. Hamilton, Livingston, what good do you do by coming through? To show we still live in a better land. April 24, 1927. Dr. Hamilton, Livingston, have you a message for the church? David Livingston, God's house should be well supplied. I have been in both. The good old kirk, my Zambezi River, different kinds of fish, 102 species. Note that David Livingston's mind springs back to African memories as if he too, on his side, were in a semi-hypnotic state. This suggests that he had come with certain memories uppermost. Vision. I saw Stead, but not in this land. He was in white, as if coming out of a cloud. It was a bluish-white light. Script. Your classroom is too small, but good work for your fellow men. W.T. Stead. Dr. Hamilton, have you a message for the church? Stead script. It should be all one. It is all one here, God's own house. My advice, do your bit as they have to do in the war. April 27, 1927. Stead script. You have a fine river here. Watch it rise, perpendicular every year about this time. Beautiful. Dr. Hamilton, have you seen Christ? Stead script. Yes, when I entered a certain sphere. You have to remain in the same sphere until your reformation is completed. May 1st, 1927. Vision. I saw Stead and I was drowning along with him. I saw him helping some overboard. Was with him with his arms around others. They weren't on top. There was such a crowd. They were running back and forward. I was down underwater, was in the water, and saw Stead in water. He had smoker's coat, dark luster, sheen to it. It was a horrid picture, and the roof over me seemed to be decks over that place, all working with hands and helping one another. No lights, at first, but later he went. He didn't fall off with the boat. He was struggling in water. He put up his hand twice and repeated something, quite a few close by him. May 5th, 1927. Mrs. Mary Marshall was present as a guest. Strong perfume filled the room. She went into trance and spoke in Parsi, a Hindu dialect, to W.B. Cooper, who grew up in India. Stevenson, script illegible. Dr. Hamilton, Stevenson, tell us about your sphere. Stevenson, script, you count number 7 spheres. I am 33 years here. Elizabeth sees other world. Stead, have patience, you will have a good medium, if you would keep steady the class and keep trying. May 8, 1927, Stead script, instructions and suggestions. You have lost a good helper. W.B. Cooper is out of the city. But I'm going to try to use her, Mary Marshall, more. I'm trying her out. Stay in longer. Try me yet. I can do better. W.T. Stead. Dr. Hamilton, do you come down from your sphere when you speak and write to us? Script. The power of your medium is agreeable to us. We can speak through to your medium from our sphere. Hints that he speaks to the medium from his own sphere. An important idea. May 12, 1927. I saw Stead flying around. So many circles of sitters. Some he took in, some he passed. Stead script. Go on with your good work. Your medium is strong. When the power is exhausted from your medium, I can't come to her. Your friend, W.T. Stead. May 15, 1927, Stead vision. I saw Stead in his beautiful home over there. Stead is here and doing something on the table. I don't seem wide enough awake to take it all in. Stead writes regarding a new communicator. Elizabeth reports that she sees a man with bushy hair and eyebrows, badly pockmarked. His name is given, but no one recognizes him. Later they learn that it is Flammarion, his first appearance in the circle. Stead script. You will learn to like him. He is quick and very pleasant. He is very old. His language you would not understand. It will be hard to write. A change. Flammarion became the 4th regular communicator to utilize the Elizabeth Poole trance. Elizabeth Poole complained that she could not understand him. He appeared to be speaking in French, and that he was badly pockmarked, so much so that she called him Spotty. Some years later they found that his face had been disfigured by smallpox, although at the time of his manifestation this fact was unknown to any of them. May 19, 1927. Note, a wonderful table levitation is photographed. The table is inverted in the cabinet and the levitation sustained. This is non-contact levitation. May 22nd, 1927, Stead script. A good picture if you sit a lot for pictures. You must begin. You are limited by time only. Your friend will come at once. We must sit for picture only. May 26, 1927. 3 absent. Dr. and Lillian Hamilton and Dr. J.A. Hamilton were in Toronto at the CMA convention. Stead claims all is upset because Dr. and Lillian Hamilton are in Toronto. Livingston script. A confession of thankfulness to the royal astronomer. Thankfulness in memory. Vision. Livingston was with a big white man and they were looking through a large telescope. Then I saw Livingston leave the man and go back to his friends, the Negroes. Verification. From David Livingstone's Introduction to Missionary Travels. In reading, scientific works and books of travel were my delight. and my dislike to dry doctrinal reading and to reading of every word continued for years. But having lighted on those admirable works of Thomas Dick, The Philosophy of Religion and The Philosophy of the Future State, it was gratifying to find by their ideas that religion and science are not hostile, but friendly to each other. Thomas Dick was a distant relation to Lillian Hamilton. This fact was known only to Lillian and Dr. Hamilton. They were not present when David Livingstone reminded them of this fact by bringing into the script his admiration for Dick's writings. Reverend Thomas Dick was a clergyman noted in Scotland in the 1840s and 50s for his writings on his study of astronomy, in which he sought to show that God was revealed to man by his great works. His writings were the means of converting the young Livingstone, who had inwardly rebelled against the narrow religious beliefs of the Scottish Church at his time. Dick tried to reconcile astronomy as science with a belief in the Creator. For many, he succeeded. He was a great-uncle of Lillian Hamilton's grandmother, Mrs. James Drummond Forrester, née Janet McFarlane. This relationship had been quite forgotten by Lillian Hamilton until Livingstone reminded her. These facts were never known to Elizabeth. May 27, 1927, a vision. I see Spotty Face. He is no great beauty. She sees Stead with his circle of sitters on his side. July 5, 1927. David Livingstone script illegible. Dr. Hamilton, David Livingstone, why do you write so poorly? Livingstone script. I never was a good writer. In my youth and early days I got little schooling. Verification from one of Livingstone's letters. I received your letter on the 4th of this month and was very much pleased with it. Your brothers did not come, so I expect it did not go to the post, which he may take as a hint to improve his handwriting. This hint I should be glad to take to myself, but I fear my hand is incurably bad. I trust that you will continue to write as fair a hand as you do now. David Livingstone. Stead appears in blue robes to Elizabeth during her sleep and writes, You must not blame the medium if things do not go well. It is very hard for us here on our side. June 16, 1927. Dr. and Lillian Hamilton still in Toronto attending CMA convention. They sat for table levitation and asked for raps, which were very strong, on the table. Questions. Could we get ectoplasm at a future date? Answer. Table pounding on floor, also by loud raps at the same time as table was rocking. We then asked in how many weeks, asking for 1 rap for each week, and were given 10 decided raps. We then asked how many sitters we should have to place in the circle, and they replied by 9 decided raps. The power was exceedingly strong at this sitting. The date given at the bottom of the sheet is July 16, 1927. The Stead vision. Stead looked cranky. I did not get any picture of him except that he stood in front of me. He was in a gray suit. Stead script, writing illegible. I saw Stead with Spotty Face. I don't care for him. He may be all right, but I don't like him. She's here referring to Flammarion. June 19, 1927. Dr. and Lillian Hamilton still in Toronto. Stevenson and Livingstone still regularly give visions and writings. Because of lack of time, these are not reported here. These visions and writings were still of incidents in the respective lives of the communicators, incidents which could be verified in their own writings and in books and articles written about them. The Stead script, the writing is poor. Elizabeth sees him in the other land. June 23, 1927, Stead script. Your little friend is not at ease. She must be if you want a message. The folks, referring to Dr. Hamilton and Lillian, are well and happy. July 10, 1927, Dr. and Lillian Hamilton are back home. Stead script. I am ready to start rearranging the class. I am not going to start with you tonight. With welcome from your friends. July 14, 1927. I saw Stead and he was angry. He stood there and he did not seem pleased with us, the experimenters. He was just here in front of me. He told me a lot. Stead script. We shall try to write plainer if you keep a set of superior class of people. That spotted face came here. He talked to me. He was not angry. He talked, but I did not understand him. July 17, 1927, Elizabeth. My pictures are no worth a snap the night. They are too dark. Can't tell them right. I saw the sailors with Stevenson, the man with the one leg, peg leg. There was a black cloud over my picture. I saw 10 with Stevenson. I can't get the pictures. They were so clouded. I saw a dandy picture of Livingston and then it just blackened over. I was away and saw sheep and goats. They were little dark sheep. I couldn't get the picture proper. Stead was cross. I don't know what he was cross for. The power was fading. The scripts were illegible. Dr. Hamilton had the red light on continuously. He turned on quite bright red light after Elizabeth had gone into trance to get her reaction. He kept it on continuously instead of the more usual intermittently. From the above, one sees that Elizabeth's reaction in trance sleep shows that the presence of light destroys her visual faculty. August 5th, 1927. Vision. I see Spotty. I can't work with him. His talk is twisted. Flammarion is speaking in French. August 21, 1927. Stead script. Each medium has different gifts. August 28, 1927. Stead script illegible. Elizabeth sees Stead clearly. In September, this work of Elizabeth's begins to deteriorate. However, she continued as a medium in Dr. Hamilton's circle for another half-dozen years. September 1st, 1927. Vision. Stead does not appear. The man with the bushy hair takes his place. Script. Writing is illegible, said to be Flammarion. Vision. I saw Spotty face. He talks, but I can't understand. If he would only speak plain. I don't know what he was saying. Some baby talk. Spotty face was just talking to me. I saw Fergie. He was enjoying himself. Well pleased. Later I saw Mrs. Fergie. September 12, 1927. Only 2 sitting this night. A hot night. Mrs. Elizabeth Poole, near normal before trance, sees Robert Hamilton. He is placing his hand on Dr. Hamilton's head. Places his right hand on Mrs. Poole's head. Pats her. Seems really well pleased about something. He looks much the same as when he passed over. Then comes a picture of an old wagon, a white or light-colored horse. Then Robert Hamilton reappears, looking to be quite a young man, 18 or 20. With him is a small lad, 8 or 10, fair skin, pink cheeks, scoutish. This youngster is now Dr. Hamilton. Stead's script is illegible. Stead was giving me some advice or something. I wonder who that boy was who was along with Arthur. Arthur seemed quite pleased to come here. The other boy stood back. This is a reference to Arthur Lamont Hamilton, who died very young of influenza. He was twin to Jimmy Hamilton, who later became a physicist and then a medical doctor. September 15, 1927. Stevenson script unreadable. Vision of Treasure Island and shipboard. Did you not hear the knocks back here behind me? I saw Stevenson. He was around here, and I have had so much I can't get it from being muddled. I was on a ship. No man on it, but I could hear someone, and he was not content, and I could hear them talking, but I kept out of the way. A lot of ropes were lying on the bottom of the boat. Somebody is bothering me tonight. Stevenson was on the shore, but not on the boat. I went to shore afterwards. I saw Stevenson with tweed pants on, tweed coat, and another man with him about the same as himself, but taller than Stevenson. I got him in another. This man went away down, and then he jumped somewhere and came down to the house. He went to the front of the house. The door was open for him, but who came to it I can't tell. I saw Stevenson as a little boy with 3 or 4 other children. They were standing back to back with each other and putting their hands up at their eyes and their faces grinning. They seemed to be playing a game. One little girl had those puffed sleeves and a sash around her waist. There are 7 or 8, all about the same size, no adults. I got him a man with another man. In fact, there were 2 men and they were on deck. I saw not much but rope and a form. Another man seemed better dressed. He did not seem to be a captain. I saw Stevenson. He wanted them to listen to something, but he could not get them talking at all. Stevenson was a young man. I saw Livy all dressed up tonight. He looked nice and clean. He went to a school, and it was nothing but young men or lads. It was nothing wonderful. I don't know whether it was a day for inspection or examination. He went to one boy and looked at his paper. Then Livy went up to the head of the class, and I left him there talking. Livingston script. I have just received a telegram. Poor mother is dead. Lecturing at Oxford, 1858. Livingston vision. Some boy, he came to Livingston and gave him a paper or an envelope or something. Livingston seemed distressed about it. I left him and landed in a place in the old country. There were a few houses and a general store. I got into a small house over a stone and a small piece of wood at the door as if it had been scrubbed. A woman was lying there, on a table or something, all white, and she was dead. Her hair was pretty gray. She was 60 or over and had a round face. I came back to a place like a college of some kind. I saw Livy, and he seemed to be giving a lecture to a bunch of young men. Verification, true. See Life of David Livingstone by Blakey, page 373. The woman I saw here was the woman I saw dead. I think he very near had me away too. Kitty Alder, a sitter, sees a stately lady over by Mrs. Poole. Elizabeth continues, here is a tall, thin woman. She is kind of pleased, awful thin in the face. It is Mrs. Ferguson. Stead, writing illegible. I saw Stead. He was standing lecturing to Dr. Hamilton. He seemed to know that I am the boss of the show. I saw Stead on the ship and a whole lot of people with him. They were doing nothing but standing. There was something wrong. A good group was standing all grouped together. Some looked anxious. One gentleman seemed to have a long bathrobe on him. Stead was with them. Did you not hear the knocking here the night? I think it was Stevenson or Livingston. I saw a spotty face between Kitty and you. He was just looking at us and he was talking to me. I can't tell you what he was saying. I can't get it. September 18, 1927. Stead scolds the sitters for being late. September 22, 1927. 3 sitters, Mrs. Poole, Jessie M., and Dr. Hamilton, saw a glow at one time. Stead was just here beside you. He did not seem cross. He was maybe at the fight too. Only his face. He talked to me. He spoke to me in a language. I don't know what he says. He must be from a foreign land. Stead scolds again. He is not being obeyed. September 23rd, 1927. An unexpected tribute to Dr. Hamilton. Livingston script. Here, work has been retained because Dr. Hamilton is the man, and years after we shall all meet in the better land. We shall be satisfied with thy likeness. David Livingston. I left them and came to a beautiful bright place, and it was not in this land. And I saw Livingston, and he had on a blue robe, and they were on a mountain in this other land. I saw these men meeting, and they seemed so pleased to meet. They smiled at each other. I did see others, but I was not drawn to them. It must have been day, for it was all so bright. September 25th, 1927. Dr. F. Benner and Dr. Rene Swan were present as observers of telekinetic phenomena. Elizabeth reported, I left that and came to a beautiful bright place, not in this land, for I saw this other man and I saw Livy. They had on blue gauze from the neck down. The other man seemed to be taller and dark. Mustache and whiskers and all are dark, dark hair. I don't know his name. They were on a mountain in the other land. I don't know his name. It was like clouds. I saw nothing but clearness. I saw these two men meeting. They seemed to be so pleased to meet, but did not shake hands. They smiled at each other. I did see others, but I was not drawn to them. It was all bright. It must have been day. Editor's note: this may be a repeat of the September 23rd sitting. I saw Stead. He was in a home in the big library and den combined, one side all books. The chairs were all stuffed and upholstered, bottom and back. The sideboard was at one end of the room. A decanter and some glasses were there, quite clear. He had on a grey suit. He seemed quite pleased. He had a turned-down collar, white and black tie. He talked and seemed real well pleased. I saw a spotted face. He was just here, and another man came in with him the night, a new man. I don't get him clear. I got Spotty Face clear enough. He was talking to me, but I don't know his talk. I think it must be German. Actually, it was Flammarian, and he was speaking in French. I saw Stead. Stead script. We like to see stalwart men interested in our work. October 23rd, 1927. Elizabeth has a vision of a train wreck. She describes a wreck of a grain train east of Winnipeg 40 minutes before it actually happened. All main points are later verified. Many witnesses hear her report. October 30, 1927. Stead states, I was with my little friend when she was in the train wreck. It was before it happened on your side. It was well done. Enough for her tonight. November 4, 1927. Dr. Hamilton, why did R.L. Stevenson bring you here? David Livingston, we enjoy communication with you on our plane as you do in yours. Stead script. Good evening, friends. I was in the room ahead of you. It is great to meet so many friends who are interested. I do love to talk. Vision. Elizabeth sees Stead again in the Blue Land. November 13. Stead script. David Livingston is as determined as when he was on this earth. Vision. Medium sees Stead looking pleased, pleased apparently with David's ability to get through. November 20. Stead illegible script, seems excited. The vision. I got Stead. He was pleased the night. November 27, 1927. Stead complains of conditions being hard on their side. And there's a photo of a table levitation. December 1st, 1927. Stead writes that the Scots make good communicators. In the vision, I saw Stead in a dining room tonight. Question by Dr. Hamilton. Did you discover the medium or were you brought here? W.T. Stead answers, I was brought by your friend Stevenson. He was a much younger man, but I had better health. Poor man, he did not know what health meant. And further, I come here because there are friendly people, good people. We have great difficulty in getting those with common interests. The Scotch are among the best communicators. December 11, 1927. Stead's script is illegible. Dr. Hamilton asks, what would be your message to the world? Livingston responds, my message to the world? I could not deliver it. You could do it yourself. It is hard to wake them up in time. This was signed David Livingstone, African explorer. December 15, 1927. David Livingstone vision is excellent. The script, do tell me the news. I have waited long. Tell me the news of the world. I have waited long. I have waited for letters for years. Patience. Give me news of the home people, of the people, my people. Dr. Hamilton asks, will you tell us, David, something about the place you're in and anything else you can put through? I am on the third plane. Everything is beautiful on this side. But my work in the world, it was too long. Good, but no power. Forgotten in darkness, they have souls as well as the whites. The vision. I got a peculiar vision with Livy the night. I think I was standing in two countries at once. Well, I know I was on the other side with him, and I know I was in the old country with him. Well, it seemed to be some other one that he wanted to get something off. And this man took out letters from his pocket and gave them to him. Livy is in civilian clothes. He is old. I think that he is coming back home. You see, I get him on the face of the hill and the sea and all, and then I get him on the other side. It was like two pictures gathered together. Livy had a rug all covered with signs or tags, the different places he had been at. Stead's last message in December 1927, the script, go on with your good work. You'll do good work for your fellow man. Spotty Flammarion was beside you here. Stead didn't come through. Stevenson, Livingstone, and Stead continued with Elizabeth until her retirement in 1933. New work began with Mary Marshall and Elizabeth in January 1928. It was evident that Stevenson and Livingstone were simply holding the door. Their influence gradually merged with that of Walter and Stead and the other directors in producing visible materialization phenomena, the teleplasms, which were to reveal likenesses of those known to have died many years before. It was evident that all had been planned from the very beginning. December 18, 1927, Stead script. Go on with your good work. You do good work for your fellow men. Like his co-communicator, the David Livingstone entity regarded himself as a human personality who had survived death, and this fact he held to be of value to mankind generally. January 1928. Dr. Hamilton gave a lecture at the Winnipeg Medical Society. He spoke of materializations as reported by Schrenk-Notzing, Richer, Gillet, and other Europeans. Little was said about evidence for survival. January 28, 1928. In January of 1928, Mary Marshall, later called Dawn for the sittings, became a member of the Hamilton Experimental Group. February 8, 1928. A letter to Mr. Hubbard, advice on lecture from Dr. Hamilton. Dr. Hamilton said in part that he is not a spiritualist in the commonly accepted sense. The Christian religion has everything needed. Men who are supposed to know are followed into areas where they know nothing and wax critical as a result of ignorance. Mr. Hubbard has talked with Dr. McLaughlin, who knows much of what the Hamiltons did in the early years. By February 1928, Mary Marshall had become a regular member of Dr. Hamilton's group. February 12, 1928. Mrs. Mary Marshall passes into trance. She speaks to Mr. W.B. Cooper in what he later said was Hindustani, a language of which she knows nothing in her waking state. W.B. Cooper was born in India, lived there until he was 12 years of age. When Mary Marshall returned to normal state, she told us that just before she became entranced, she had seen a young man come into the room. He had laughing blue eyes and a girlish complexion. He was playing on a tin whistle. It was her first clairvoyant experience of the young man in the Hamilton seance room. She described him as handsome. Just before she became entranced, she had seen him come into the room. He was funny and he made her laugh. This new control refused to give his name, so that during this time and for some weeks after his appearance, he was referred to as Fair Young Man. He appeared at both regular and impromptu sittings, and spontaneously at times to Mary. During this period he appeared 18 times, dividing his attention almost equally between Elizabeth Poole and Mary Marshall. In these appearances he used the various psychic faculties of both mediums: clairvoyance, clairaudience, transvisions, transcript, and trans-speech. February 15, 1928. Elizabeth. I saw Stevenson instead. I did not see Livy. I saw Stevenson away in a different place, quite a few men there. This place was a pretty large house, a peculiar shape. The roof seemed kind of green. We went into a room well furnished, more like a parlor. One man of quite a few there had a big book. Half the room was a fireplace on the wall. There were two large on the mantelpiece. There was a picture of the man on the mantelpiece, a man white-headed, thin hair, roundish face. The table, square, was sitting in the center, a family gathering, 6 or 8 or some more. Stevenson was about 30 years. I got stead in the other world. He was like in a big open silver mountain. He was quite near the right. Others were with him as they stood on the way down. They looked so small. They must have been some way down. W.B. Cooper reported, I only saw Stead's head and face, silvery white. I saw an outline of his features just behind Mrs. Poole, the eyes and the outline of the face. I could not see the color of his eyes. I could see the beard. It was a side view, and then he turned his face right above Mrs. Poole's head. And W.B. Cooper continued, here's a garden, like a square, and a lot of flowers. A big, tall, very old building. One road one way and another a way down. Now a lady has come up this way. Now it is opening up and away into the country as far as I can see. February 1928. A number of sittings held, many impromptu. Writing and phenomena only fair. March 1st, 1928. Elizabeth reports. I got Stevenson first. He was awful angry at some other man with this place. It was not his own. It was a house. There seemed to be something in between them, but neither was pleased. The other man was short, stout, close-cut beard, and he looked like a sailor. I could not tell what was on his head. He had a pipe. The house was low, thatched, and some water. They were standing. Stevenson was near the door. I got him again, but he was in a different place, and he was dressed with better clothes and cleaned up than he was in the other picture. He went inside, and they had quite a bit of talk, and they had 2 or 3 great big open books. It seemed as if it was an office. He was standing and talking to 2 or 3 men. Then Livy, I saw him with a lot of money the night. He was giving it away. Whether these men had been working for him, I don't know. Then I saw him going and getting more, and that was put in his pocket. It was a very peculiar building with stucco outside and a dome on it, and the inside was very poor looking. Long ornaments done with stucco are on the walls. I got Stead. He was sitting in a room, a dining room, very heavily furnished. A few gentlemen were sitting at this big long table. I don't know what they were saying. I saw another stranger there where Stead was, and Spotty, Flammarion, was around at the same time. He was either leaning or lying on something. He spoke to me. Stead and Spotty spoke to me, and Spotty is pleasant too. His spots are like blotches. Neither was in this world. I only saw the head of both of them. This black-haired man was a foreigner. He was in a little at the mouth. He seemed to have high cheekbones. Now I get a rainbow, different colors and all. W.T. Stead writes by the hand of Elizabeth in sleep these words. I advise that nothing interfere with my little friend, no one yet to take the work from her. During the 5th interval of the Elizabeth trance sleep, F.W.H. Myers purported to write. His advice was similar to Stead's. This was the first Myers message in nearly 6 years. The last had been Helping in Amity, Myers and Stead, April 1922. On March 4, 1928, an impromptu sitting, Mary Marshall goes into trance while Elizabeth is describing her Stevenson and Livingston visions. Mary shivers and sighs and seems under stress. At the same time, Sitter X, is this Ewan? For the first time passed into what appeared to be trance. The room is suddenly pervaded with a strong odor of perfume. All agree it smells like cologne. Elizabeth in cabinet, usual transcript and relating of trance visions. Elizabeth is still giving her story. She recovers consciousness and says, "Oh, I have seen such a wonderful sight. I went on a boat with a man, dark-skinned. He wore a turban and robes. I think he was a priest. He took me to a large temple. It had 12 pillars and oh, the beautiful lights. They were not lamps or anything like that. I could see all water. Oh, I could not describe it. All music, all praying, kneeling in prayer. Their robes were gauzy white." At this point the perfume comes in great waves. It is strongest near Mary Marshall's breast. Dr. Hamilton and Lillian confirmed this. Mrs. Marshall is greatly excited by this beautiful vision. She says she has never had anything like it before. The perfume passes away. While Elizabeth is still in the cabinet, Mary sees a man standing beside Mrs. Cummings. Mary to Mrs. Cummings, "Is your father in the spirit world? I see a man with grey eyes beside you. He is not old." Mrs. Cummings, "No." Mary, "Well, he says he is your father." Mrs. Cummings, "I beg your pardon. I was thinking of my stepfather. He had grey eyes." Mary, "He says he is your daddy. I get it that he must have died many years ago. Mrs. Cummings: that is true. I was just a little girl when he died. Mary: he shows me a little cedar chest. Have you a cedar chest or a little box like a cedar chest? Mrs. Cummings: yes. Mary: well, he shows me a paper. I can't read what is on it, but he says it is done. There is an article lost. I get the impression of jewels and trinkets in this box. Mrs. Cummings: this is certainly full of meaning to me. Mrs. Cummings did not tell the sitters what it meant to her. After relating her story, Elizabeth takes her place in the circle and Mary moves into the cabinet. Mary in cabinet falls into sleep almost at once and starts to whistle. Recovers. She says, there is that fair young man I have seen before. His hair is almost golden. My, he is full of fun. Mary laughs heartily. Dr. Hamilton: describe him. Mary: he has a fair complexion, blue eyes, clean shaven, medium height, well built. His hair is almost golden. My, he is full of fun. Later she said he had lovely teeth. Oh, I feel something on my lap. When I was awake just now, I seemed to be sitting on the bank of a stream. That fair young man came and gave me a shove. I thought I was going to fall into the water. It gave me such a start. He is too full of mischief. W.B. Cooper: oh, there is a hand pulling my hair. Oh, I have a terrible pain in my stomach. They are trying to push my head down. Dr. Hamilton: all right, lay your head on the table. W.B. Cooper does so. Mary laughs and tells the sitters that the young man says, are you trying to say your prayers? Then he says, sing something lively. The young man does not like hymns. The group sings, oh, them golden slippers. Mary: he says we are to sing it, not mumble it. Group sings more heartily, then sings Clementine. Mary reports the young man says, that's better. As the group sings the line, she fell into the foaming brine, the young man says to Mary Ann, you're all wet now. W.B. Cooper: someone is pouring cold water down my back. Oh, he shivers. I feel his icy hand. That pain in my stomach is awful. Young man speaking through Mary: take an ABS and C pill. The medium and the group are convulsed with laughter. Sitter: if only we could get to the direct voice. Young man through Mary M: well, I must go now. So long. Comment: following the sitting, Mr. Cooper informed Dr. and Lillian Hamilton that just at the close of the sitting he heard a voice whisper near his right ear, goodbye, you old rascal. It's a secret. It's Walter. A hell of a looking bunch you are. This secret was not repeated to any one of the sitters. Mr. Cooper had fairly well developed clairaudience and clairvoyance at this stage. March 5th, 1928. Dr. and Lillian Hamilton and Mrs. Poole. An impromptu sitting. During the sitting, about 10 o'clock in the evening, Elizabeth was very much startled by seeing a man standing in the center of the seance room. He vanished in the direction of the cabinet. Mrs. Poole stayed overnight at the Hamiltons. She asked the small son of the Hamiltons, Jimmy, to come and stay with her for a little while. It had given her such a start, she said. When the son went to bed, the writer, Lillian Hamilton, volunteered to remain for a while with her. In a few moments, Elizabeth again caught a fleeting glimpse of the man. Lillian suggested putting out the light and having a good look at him. She did so. Lillian lay down to rest on the couch and Elizabeth sat beside her. The man returned. Elizabeth: oh, there he is, a thin veil over his face. He is good looking, good complexion. Now he is coming nearer. Oh, I cannot look at him, he is so clear. Lillian: look at him, don't be afraid. Elizabeth: oh, here I'm getting a picture. I see a railroad engine, such a big cow catcher. Rather small engine to what they have now, rather clumsy looking. Oh, here is another man, a doctor man. His face is dirty. The fair young man is with him. He has a dirty face too. Laughs. He has a shirt with small spots on it. Now I'm going with a train. Here we go around a hill, now we pass a little village. Here we are in a town or city. I don't know which. I see lots of smokestacks sticking up. It must be a manufacturing place or railroad yard. It's gone. Elizabeth, here is our lovely child. Oh, she has a lovely bouquet of flowers for you, Lillian. Take the bouquet. It looks like Donald. I think it is Louise. There was an interval. Elizabeth laughing. Don't move, Mrs. Hamilton. There is 3 old water tanks right above your head. Look out or you will be drowned in water. Another interval. Lillian, oh, here are letters coming. Dr. Hamilton has just come in and makes notes. I see the young man above Dr. Hamilton. Come along and speak. He is trying to say something. Letters appear in light. Dr. Hamilton records them. 78. Who wants my number? Look for it. And he laughs. Elizabeth, he is smiling. He is going. Here he is shaking hands. He is pleased. He is gone. Elizabeth laughs and says, Doctor, he has left an old hoop around your head. It is darker and broader than the old hoops I've seen. It looks like an old wagon hoop or tire. She also heard and reported that the fair young man was asking Dr. Hamilton to make a bell box similar to the Scientific American bell box used in the Crandon test experiments in Boston in 1923.